What up and welcome into the First Strike. Here is the sports money coverage of UFC Fight Night this Saturday. They'll be down under in Perth in Australia. And we're going to give you guys 3 early looks to try to beat the books. Some of the spots that we like early here as we're looking at some of the cash flow. We'll give you guys the breakdown, talk to you a little bit about some of the analysis and a play that you're going to want to go lock in now as we get ready for the big Saturday stream. I've got our combat correspondents here. I've got MMA Jeff. I've got Subhuman Gaucho. Jeff, happy fight week. How you doing?
I'm fantastic as usual. We as we were talking backstage, we got a lot of fights coming up this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting to see how these we got 14 lined up on the card here. Yeah, I'm excited to see how these weigh-ins go and how these lines shift. I think we're going to see a big UFC weekend here. So I'm jacked up. You know I am.
Subhuman Gaucho, we're ready to roll. We're back in the saddle and ready to attack. How's your prep going for the weekend?
Yeah, it's been going well, man. I'm really looking forward to this card. It's a big combat sports week, and we were talking about it a few minutes ago. And yeah, there's a lot to like out there. So Friday, Saturday, it's going to be busy. I'm looking forward to it in a big way.
You're home for combat coverage here. We've got the PFL, we've got One Championship, we've got Cage Warriors, we've got LFA, we got Friday night, we got Saturday, we got all kinds of things happening out here in the world of combat sports. So you guys have come to the right spot. Without further ado, we're going to toss this over to MMA Jeff to bring us in on the first of the 3 fights. You'll see on the right-hand side of the card, the 3 fights we're going to cover. We'll give you a recap at the end so you can see the prices that we got so you can shop them around. But without further ado, let's give it to MMA Jeff to kick off the UFC Perth card. Jeff, talk to us about how you're getting paid.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one here. You got Luke Bumi and you got Tainara. I can't wait for this one. This should be an entertaining and exciting strawweight battle between 2 young fighters that are going to try to keep the momentum going. You got Luke Bumi, ranked 14th worldwide. She's about 2 years older. She's a slight 3 inches shorter. What stood out to me was the 6-inch reach disadvantage for her. I think that's going to play a factor into this fight. She comes in with quite a bit more experience, though, 10-3 as a pro. She's got 9 of those fights in the UFC, ends up with a 7-2 record, which is pretty good against some solid pro competition in the best MMA, events you can have. Ultimately, she comes in on a 4 fights win streak, 3 of those by decision. All 3 of those were dominant, unanimous decision victories. She's an aggressive fighter. She likes to move forward. She likes to stay active on the feet. She's got the speed, so she certainly can do so. She's willing to give a few shots, or take a few shots, I should say, to give a few shots. She's certainly a little more active on the volume side of things, but again, she's not afraid to take a couple of shots. She's not the best wrestler, though. I mean, ultimately, she's, if she'll go for takedowns. She's got great takedown defense, as you see on the screen there, 73%. But if she does get taken down, she's probably going to be on the bottom, being the smaller fighter. And she struggles to get back up. She kind of goes into hysteria mode on the ground. And I don't know how this one's going to play out. I think we're going to be in for an exciting one. You got Alexia Tainara on the other side, ranked 24th in the world. She's 12-1 as a pro. However, only 1 UFC professional fight, which she ultimately ended with rear naked choke. She beat up Meatball Molly in round 1. She actually earned performance of the night in that one. That was a hell of an exciting fight. 8 of her 12 wins have been by submission, which shows she's not afraid to get into the grappling side of things, and she can certainly hold her own. Something that stood out to me on her side of things was the 0 KO victories. For a girl that goes out there and throws, I don't say wildly, but not as tactically sound as a lot of these professional fighters, she's got 0 KOs. And I mean, she'll throw heavy and she'll throw often and she'll throw wild, but for some reason, she just hasn't seemed to get the KOs. Tainara, she's notably the stronger, and she's probably going to be the bigger looking fighter in the ring, even though it's only a 3-inch height advantage. I think just the strawweight size of Luke Bumi there is she's just not going to have what it's going to look like to be the equal size fighter in there. Although I see the lack of competition that Tainara has fought. I do see her being the bigger bully and landing the more effective strikes out there. I think she's probably going to look for a takedown and potentially get the finish, but I'm going to roll with Thainara in this one. Like I said, I do think she's going to win the fight. I'm not sure if it's going to be inside the distance or by the judges, but I'm going to go with Thainara -3.5. That covers the finish, and it covers if it goes to the judges. I think she's going to ultimately get the better of Luke Boomy, unfortunately. And I snagged that up -125. So, Thainara -3.5 at 125. And I do see that line's probably going to shift as we get closer to fight night. Mike's going to bring us on to Tekniz and Mousasa. I'm excited to hear his breakdown on this one. I think this is going to be another exciting fight. I think Perth's going to have a lot of excitement out there. Mike, how are you getting paid?
Fun breakdown, Jeff. Thainara's looking at the spot there, and Luke Boomy going to have her hands full, it sounds like. But speaking of hands full, Tekniz and Mousasa here, going to be a battle of the regional Australian and an African fighter coming into this thing, both with different paths of entrance to the UFC. We saw Tekniz make his entrance, his debutante, if you will, was going out there on the big card against a Topuria. We know the big deal there was, what do you have, 1 week's notice? And he came out there and he got busted up. On the other side of things, Mousasa, if you look at his background and how he's gotten into this thing, regional fighter out of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Fun thing to say, but nothing fun about this guy's entrance into the UFC. Yeah, he gets a win for the Dana White Contender Series. It was an arguable, questionable split decision. He comes out there then with the camp on him, and he goes and he gets pieced up by Carlos Ferra. Not the best way to make your debut. Flip side of things, Thickness comes in, as I mentioned, on short notice, makes his debut, gets pieced up. That's where I think this thing kind of pops off. As you're looking at these two cards, in the camp of Volkanovski is Thickness, Slickness, the Australian, and flip side of things, I think we got a guy that's trying to find his place. And I always try to find a unique scenario that kind of lends me to put my flag in the ground. And I think the unique spot with Mousasa here is he's one of them Gunna guys. What I mean by that is I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to change camps. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And he's done nothing. So ultimately to me, you're on borrowed time. Why do they bring in a guy out of the Democratic Republic of Congo? Well, because some of these Australian or African fighters don't want to fight on the card if they don't have a number of African fighters. We saw that with, the UFC. Francis Ngannou doesn't want to fight because there just weren't enough Africans in the main card that could go out there and give him the shot. So they're bringing in guys like Mousasa. Problem is he's fighting at 135, and the guy's a chiseled specimen. He looks like he's going to have trouble cutting this weight again. He missed that last time by about a half a pound. Small little miss, but it's because the guy is chiseled, and I think at the wrong weight class. And flip side of things here, if you believe in that they owe a theory or they owe a favor, Colby Thickness is the guy you got to look at here. I'm not excited about a guy that promises what he's going to do and doesn't deliver. And this has come all the way down to Thickness, supposed to get rumored to be moving over to the Performance Institute so that they can work. And he's a fast guy. He'll move around the ring. He'll keep you on your toes the whole time, but he's just not ready to take that next leap in my estimation for the UFC. And it just comes down by the fact that, we look at how he got chinned to a subspecialist in his UFC debut. I don't think he knows what he's doing or how to do it. You look at his record, he's got 7 KOs and 1 decision, but the rounded fighter in Thickness here, 2 subs, 2 KOs, 2 decisions out there. He's a trainer. He's a consummate professional. Is he going to be enough in the land of Australia? Well, maybe if we get the JF in play here, this thing goes deep. Does Colby Thickness have a shot to end up swaying and tipping these judges? But I'm just not a fan. You're supposed to be working on a new gym. You promised a bunch of things to the UFC. You were -800 favorite. You got nuked. And now you got this Volkanovski experience camp with Thickness out there. I think it's a good shot for us to take a +135. And we'll take Colby. We'll take the Australian. We'll hope for some JF if that's what it takes at the end of it. I just think there's more paths to victory for Thickness in this spot, and a guy that's promised a lot of things and hasn't delivered. So that's how we'll kick off the second fight of the card, and we'll bring Sub home to talk to us about a fun one. Can't wait to hear the breakdown on a fighter coming out of the Dana White Contender Series against this wily veteran.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Good breakdowns. Looking forward to this. And man, I was kind of looking forward to breaking down this fight this evening. This is kind of Mike's backyard here. He loves these Philly fighters, so I think I might as well start with the Renzo Gracie Philly affiliate and Andre Petrowski. Now, I've kind of been I don't know if I would say I'm bearish on Petrowski, but I've always been like kind of keen to his flaws. And, throughout certain parts of his career, they do seem striking, a little bit chinny at times, to be sure. I think, famously, he kind of knocked himself out running into Jacob Malkoon's hip. And, at times, a little gassy, the cardio seems a bit suspect. To be honest, I think it's a little bit overblown, his cardio issues. I watched a lot of Petrosky tape, this last week, and he does slow, to be sure, but he also fights through it. One of the striking things that kind of jumped out to me was, if you watch this guy over time, he seems to have problems in round 2. He wins a lot of round 1s, and then he kind of fades in round 2s. Has a lot of issues there, but if you watch his tape, he's gone to decision a number of times. He wins round 3 more often than not. In fact, almost every round 3 he ends up winning. So I think the cardio issues are a little bit unblown. Coming off of I was going to say a bad loss. That's probably not quite the way to put it, but Edmund Shahbazyan really took it to him. 30-27 loss. It was kind of pillar to post, although I don't think you could really say it was especially dominant. But, going into round 3, he's down 2-0, and he didn't really have anything, looked a little bit defeated. It was a bit of a bad look. And I think one of the kind of red flags with regards to Petrosky is, and this is, a bit of narrative nation that I'm going to get into right now, but, he has been helping out some professional hockey teams with their fighting skills, which I didn't even know was a thing, but apparently it is. But it's something that he's dedicated some considerable time to, which makes you wonder if he's spending the same amount of time in the gym, especially given that, this guy does have other businesses. He's something of an entrepreneur. He does seem to have some distractions, but, that said, this is a good veteran. I mean, this guy has 12 UFC fights and he's 9-3. That is a pretty darn good career at the highest level, and he is proven. So then we look to the other side here, and you got Cam Roston. A bit of a hot product right now. I think he's probably coming off of his best win in dramatic fashion. It was not long ago. If you've been watching the Dana White Contender Series with us, then you saw it. He knocked out Holmes. Pretty impressive for a guy that, I don't think has great hands and great striking, to be honest. One of the things that you hear from multiple people I had to mention this, you hear this from multiple people at City Kickboxing. A lot of us are going to be familiar with City Kickboxing. We've seen great fighters come out of there, the likes of Israel Adesanya, Dan Hooker, and of course in the main event on this UFC Perth card, we will see a City Kickboxing product. They all say that he's the most well-rounded fighter in the gym, and that is quite a compliment on the one hand, at least at first blush. But then you look up and down this roster of City Kickboxing fighters, and they're all primary strikers that have no offensive wrestling, no offensive grappling. They can't submit anybody. So they're all one-dimensional. And apparently Cam Roston is the most well-rounded. Well, is he the most well-rounded? Well, I kind of believe it, because everybody's extremely one-dimensional in that gym. But is he like the rest of them? Well, he's not a great striker. If all you've seen from this guy is the Dana White Contender Series fight, you might assume that he is, but he's not. He's had his moments on the regional scenes against Cans, but he's not a very good striker. He's pretty clunky. He's pretty slow. Granted, he's tall, but I don't think he's great at using his reach or anything like that. He's really a BJJ guy, and he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy that doesn't have very good wrestling. And you saw that if you've been watching the Contender Series, further back. This guy got absolutely dominated by Terez Finney. Terez Finney's a bit of a hard out for a lot of people because he's, built like a 1980s refrigerator, extremely strong. But is Terez Finney a great wrestler? No. Does he have good control? Oh, God, no, he does not. It's actually awful, and that's why Terez Finney just took him down over and over. I think it was 10-plus takedowns in that fight. For Petrosky here, Petrosky is a good wrestler. He has great fundamentals in wrestling. He has a great background in wrestling. He's been doing it for a long time. his BJJ is very good. You know, I mentioned this Renzo Gracie gym out in Philly. This is filled with great grapplers, and Petrosky among them. I think Petrosky here, he gets one takedown a round, and that is the round, if not the fight. But in this case, you know, I think it does go the distance. I think he does get, you know, 3 takedowns, and I think he wins 3 rounds doing it. So I like the over here. I think we see a lot of grappling. I think Ralston high rolled that KO over very Chinny Holmes and Dana White Contender Series. I don't think he's going to do that to Petrosky. I don't think Petrosky's going to knock him out on the feet. And I think Ralston will get grounded and he'll get top times, but I think he'll stay safe because he is a good BJJ player. So I really like Petrosky here. This is my biggest money line bet of the night, and I like him by decision at plus 170. I think it's a very generous line for a guy that I think is going to win an awful lot of minutes here in a grappler versus grappler contest down under. So, yeah, Petrosky decision. Really like this spot. And I think I'll have some cute stuff come Saturday. So tune into the live stream, and we'll talk some same-game parlays and whatnot with regards to this contest here.
And that's going to do it, you guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in to watch the first strike out there. You can see the recap on the side. The way that we're attacking the early fights out there, get these locked in so that you don't miss the line moves out there. MMA Jeff, tell them what's going on and where they can find you.
You can find me at MMA Jeff 19. You can find me over at Winnable, same MMA Jeff 19. We got Thainara minus 3.5 at minus 125. I think that line is going to move. So get on it if you're going to get on it, and good luck this weekend.
Subhuman Gaucho coming through with the Petrosky decision at plus 170. Tell them what's going on. Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, we'll reach out on twitter.com. I'm going to try to post some stuff there. I'll try to post some stuff here on YouTube for sports money and whatnot, but I will have a lot of combat sports action outside of UFC Perth. So I'll be on the lookout for that. And of course, looking forward to Saturday. If you're watching live, come join us on the live stream. Can't wait for the live action, man. I think this is going to be a fun card. I really do.
And we have a nice start time as well. Normally, well, we've been battling some of these early cards. So 6:45 or so, we'll pop off, talk about not just these fights, but all sports that are out there. Major League Baseball, WNBA playoffs. We'll talk some NFL early look ahead, college football. But obviously the main dish will be UFC Perth. On behalf of the Sports Money crew, thanks for watching. Make sure you leave a comment out there with your favorite fight. If you're going to tail, if you're going to fade us, just let us know in the comment section, and we'll see you guys all on Saturday. Smash the thumbs up, and appreciate you guys watching.